Aaron Freund is with the Washington Post, and the thought is that people who are fearing death support Donald Trump more than people who don't even think about death. Max, good morning. What are we learning here? This is out of Skidmore in Saratoga, right?
That's correct. Yeah, it is a very surprising study, and it seems as though when people are asked or encouraged to think about death in psychological experiments, they are more supportive of Donald Trump. It's similar to a result that these psychologists found in 2004 when comparing George W. Bush with John Kerry. So it's not a complete surprise for them that the fear of death makes resolute, charismatic leaders like Trump and Bush more appealing to people.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit unclear why this connection exists.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard that people describe Donald Trump as being somebody that's just he's exploiting our greatest fears.
Well, I don't know if that's quite right.
Yeah.
The thing about Trump is that certainly he talks about radical Islamism, violent Islamism in the Middle East, for example. But the ways that people begin to think about death are a little bit more subtle, and it doesn't seem like Trump has a conscious or intentional, calculated strategy here.
Right.
In particular, the surprising thing is that when people are asked to think about immigration, when people talk about immigration, it seems like thinking about immigration also makes people think about death more. And again, it's just a very surprising connection.
Is it just fear of the unknown?
Well, I think there are a few possibilities. I mean, one is that some people might view immigrants as being a threat to their personal safety. Of course, Trump frequently talks about people who were victims of crimes committed by illegal immigrants. In general, criminologists believe that immigrants commit fewer crimes than people who are born in the United States. But there are other possibilities too. I sometimes think that perhaps people who have been in the country, who remember when the United States was a much less diverse place than it is today, think about increasing diversity, and they think about how much time has gone by and how much has changed, and that makes them feel old. That makes them realize that their lives are limited in time, and they're approaching the end.
Do you think also it might be, I wonder, that as you get older, you might not, you see this much more diverse country, and and there's new technology and new gadgets and things that you might not understand. You're watching all these younger people who are just flying through this stuff and handling it easily because they're being brought up with it, and you're feeling a bit out of touch. And maybe that reminds you that, hey, the end is nearer than you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I think there's certainly some truth to that.
Yeah. So yet they support these people tend to support Trump.
Well, and isn't it possible too that Trump represents the familiar father figure in this election, and while Bernie may be the grandfather and Hillary may be striving to be everyone's grandmother, it's Trump who's really reassuring everyone.
Compare Trump to my father. I in a million.
But there are
years,
some people who would say his supporters would say he's
or
very
Hillary to my
reassuring.
grandma,
or
please.
Hillary to my mother.
You imagine her doing that, reading you a bedtime story?
Yeah. What do you say to that, Max?
Well, I think that it's important to keep in mind that this is a study conducted in the laboratory, so to speak, in controlled conditions at a college campus. And so how people will respond to Trump or Clinton or anyone else for that matter in practice, when it comes time to go to the polls and vote, is an open question. And it could be that, people thinking about death makes them more supportive of Clinton if they're Democrats, or Trump if they're Republicans.
Yeah.
So it's not entirely clear how this will all play out.
I feel like I've died and gone to some foreign place right now based on what's going on in this current election. It's the craziest thing we've ever seen. Max, thanks for coming on. Max, Aaron Freund, we appreciate it from the Washington Post.
Thank you.
All right. Christine, we'll have news coming up. June 2nd, birthdays here today. Gabriella Marchesani in Westmoreland. Happy birthday. Madison O'Toole in New Hartford and Sean Grant in Whitesboro, each celebrating here on June 2nd. And the cake goes to Gabriella Marchesani in Westmoreland. Gabriella gets a cake from the Florentine Pastry Shop on Bleecker Street in Utica, and you can get a birthday on air by going to our news site. You could join the VIP club and submit your birthday online at WIBX950.com, or you can send it in on a postcard. WIBX birthdays, 9418 River Road, Marcy 13403. News is next in 1 minute on WIBX.